counting on you to keep them safe. For the safety of my kids, other students, and the rest of our community, please don't ignore the advice of the health professionals who we have hired to protect us. Do everything possible to implement a mask mandate for schools this year. Thank you.
No way.
Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Catherine Stevens. I live in South Jordan, Utah. And I relate to the other woman that said this is really out of her comfort zone. I've never done anything like this, but I believe really strongly about this. And I think the reason I wanted to come and sit and speak today is I represent at least very minimum of 35 people that share my opinion. I asked personally on Instagram and through text, and they all back me 100% on this. So I would like you to consider that I'm the voice for at least 35 other mothers. They're all mothers.
But you don't want 3 times 35 time to speak, right?
No.
Okay.
That would be
a little
scary.
jest. We got to lighten it up a little, right?
Right.
All right.
I agree. I am the mother of 4 children. All 4 are in the public school system. My oldest is in 9th grade. She's with me today, and she may say some words if she has the courage. I have a 6th grader, a 3rd grader, and my baby's entering kindergarten. I just believe that there has not been enough scientific proof that masks are even effective in preventing the virus. There was a study that says in states with a mandate in effect, there were 9.6 million confirmed cases. That's 27 per 100,000 per day. States that did not have a statewide mandate had 5.7 million confirmed cases, which is only 17 per 100,000 per day. And I can send these where I found these studies so you can verify the validity of them. But I also love this, that Sweden did not instate masks, or they didn't stop going to schools. They didn't close school downs, and they didn't close schools down, and they did not require masks, and they had 0 deaths in children. The virus is not seeming to affect children. My entire family got COVID-19. We were tested. We all got it about the same time. And my 2 youngest had 0 symptoms. My 2 older felt slight symptoms for about a day. And I wanted to just mention that I think that masks are actually harmful. There was a study that 6 people in Florida, they took their children's masks that were worn for 6+ hours a day, and they tested them, and there was lots of pathogens and bacteria on the masks because masks are being touched a lot. They're being set on bathroom counters. They're falling on the ground, and then you're putting that on your face. So I think there's a lot more harm that masks are causing that we don't talk about. I also think it creates a false sense of security. Like, I have my mask on, I'm fine. And it may eliminate the more effective measures like hand washing and staying home when you're sick. If you just like, I have a mask, I'm fine. It kind of has this false sense of security that it's kind of this magic fix all. And it's not. I think it's more important to wash hands, practice good hygiene, stay home when you're sick, and honestly strengthen your immune system. I think we need to focus more on strengthening our immune systems, because our immune systems can fight this virus. That's all we can do with viruses, is depend on our immune system to fight them. So on a personal note, my daughter, same with another woman mentioned, they're in the Chinese immersion program, and my daughter will be leaving the Chinese immersion program. She's had such a hard year with masks, and she hates it. So she will be leaving. And so that's just one way that we've been personally affected by it. So I ask you not to reinstate masks, please.
Thank you, Catherine. Be brave. Come on. Be brave. Yeah. What's your name and where do you live?
I'm Cecily Stevens, Ceciliy, and I'm from South Jordan. Yeah, I'm going into 9th grade, and just the 2020 year, like the year that we got shut down and had to go online, it was really hard for me, and my grades dropped a lot, and I didn't understand. I didn't learn more at all, or not at all, but way less. And then last year with masks, it was really hard. So I would love to go back to school to learn way more instead of having to go online, but I don't want to have to go to school with masks, because it was really hard to learn, and I couldn't socialize, and it was really hard for me to understand my teachers. And yeah, and we also, like, so many people got COVID still wearing their masks, and we did all we could, and we like social distance and stuff, and we were quarantined, but everybody still got COVID no matter what. And so yeah, I'm gonna say sorry.
So Cicely, don't you feel better by having said that now, and it's off your chest, and it was a good experience, right? All right, thanks for coming. Hi.
Hi. So I wasn't going to speak. I'm from Weber County, but I do represent, my name is Jessica Favash. I represent Academic Integrity Movement.
Jessica, what you spell your last name?
So it's like the number 5, Fiveash. And I'm the executive director of the Academic Integrity Movement.
And let me just reiterate, let's make sure we have Salt Lake County residents speak
Yeah.
first.
Okay.
And
Well,
then
I have many residents in this group. That's the reason that I'm here.
That you're speaking for them?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. And some are in this room.
Thank you.
Okay. And I'm also a parent of 2 students and a former teacher. I taught in Weber County. I find it highly suspect that the government says they care about our health and safety all of a sudden. Anyone who knows history can talk about the disease infested blankets to give to Native Americans, or even the Tuskegee experiment. Do you know that as a teacher, during flu season, sometimes my classroom in the school would be half empty because everyone was sick? This wasn't just my school. This is a regular occurrence in all schools year after year. We didn't do masks or anything else other than spray Lysol and ask the kids to stay home for a few days. This is much greater than a so-called health issue or emergency. This is part of an agenda to control and break people down, and we won't let this happen again or anymore. And if you choose to make deals instead of serving the people will take our kids out at rates you've never seen before. We are in charge of our children's education, not any agency, per the Utah Code of Education. And as Americans, we are standing up for the liberties and freedoms afforded to each of us by the Constitution. Please be stronger for all of our kids and for their future. We, the people, are counting on you, and it's our bodies, our choice. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Hello, how are you?
Hi,
Hi, what's your name?
Chloe Bruns.
Chloe what?
Bruns.
Friends.
Chloe, that's a beautiful name. Where do you live, Chloe?
I live in Draper.
And how old are you, sweetheart?
I'm 8 years old.
8 years old. What would you like to tell the county council?
So usually when I'm in school, before when there were masks, I never got to see my friends' faces. For all the new people that came into the school, I once had a friend named Holly, and she was new when I was in 2nd grade. I am now in 3rd, but I could not see her face, and I did not know who she was. So I didn't really like it because I like seeing my friends' faces, and it always brightens my day to see a smile on everyone's faces. I kind of wish that all masks would be gone, and I just wish that the world would be normal again. I just really want that. So I want, now that masks are gone in my school, I can see all my friends' faces, and I'm happy, but I kind of wish that COVID would just disappear into thin air and then never come again. So I hope that you guys do not bring back masks because I like seeing all of my friends' faces, and because usually when we have masks on, we breathe in carbon dioxide that we already breathed out. That carbon dioxide is supposed to go to trees, but the masks prevent us from breathing new oxygen, so then we can breathe better. So as you can see on my brother's poster, it's the green one in the air. It says, "Let me breathe." And I can support that because I also want to breathe. I just hope that you guys don't bring back masks. Thank you.
Thank you, Chloe. And Chloe, I think you have a bright future somewhere down the line. You're welcome. Thank you. How are you, sir? Can I get your name and address?
Yeah, my name is initials TG Larson, SON, and Draper. And I mean, I'm obviously not for the kids wearing masks to the school, but also too during the COVID, during this COVID, I have come to realize, you know, there are, and I'm talking some of the older people I know. When I say older, some people my age, it took them longer to get over COVID. And we do know that there can be side effects of getting COVID. There's no doubt. But there are also some side effects of the vaccine. We have to look at things in a balance. Okay. And so most of my comment is we've tried to do everything to have our kids be as, oh man, got nervous and I forgot the word. Make sure they have a strong immune system. But I realize that may not be enough. And so what happened is during the lab, maybe it's 6 months ago, I had a friend get COVID really bad. And he didn't care whether he lived or died. And again, he's my age. I'm not talking children age. I know a lot of children that have gotten COVID and it didn't affect them that much. But I do know there's a rare occasion where kids can be affected by COVID. But my big thing is preventative. And so I really started researching what some options were. And the more I researched, and this is just me personally, okay? People need to consult their doctors or do their own research on this. But I think it's a tragedy that the government shut down anything that had to do with ivermectin, because there's a lot of evidence out there that it does help. I listened to a doctor that's been using it in his clinic ever since COVID started. And so just for our family alone, we've stocked up on ivermectin. So if our kids do get it, you just give it to them right away. It's very effective on killing viruses. Again, that's my personal, I've done a lot of studies. I actually listened to a lot of COVID reports worldwide. And ivermectin is used heavily in India and some of the other countries. So my big thing is that as adults, we need to take the responsibility of protecting our children, whatever that is. And like I said, I'm not for the mask thing at all. But I mean, but if there's other things that we can do to protect our children, to keep them from getting COVID, or if they get it, we can wipe it out really quick, and along with ourselves. So I mean, that's really all I have to say. I appreciate you guys having everybody listen, come and give their opinions.
Thank you, TG. Hello.
Hi, my name is Sheila Killeen, and I live in Salt Lake City.
Could you spell your last name?
Killeen.
Thank you.
So my family and I moved here from Seattle during COVID, and we're so happy to be in this state versus Washington. I work for an international company. I lead a global operations team that provides digital solutions for nonprofits and IGOs. We were just recognized, the company was just recognized for the work that we did with the World Health Organization building a data hub. I'm not speaking on behalf of my company, I'm speaking on behalf of me. However, I do have a lot of access to data. I look at dashboards all the time. I've seen which states have excellent reporting mechanisms. And there's been a couple things that I've just questioned and why people haven't leveraged these and used these for information. Really, the two main points are there are zero scientific studies supporting mask usage. There's a lot of anecdotal information out there. There was a study that was funded by the Chan Zuckerberg Foundation that was done in Florida, and I have that data and I will send it all to you, and I'll go over that next. And then the other point being that this is really a disease of the elderly, right? Your average age of death is 83 for COVID-19. So to get to the Florida data, the Florida data is a Chan Zuckerberg study. And what they did is there were 22 counties that imposed mask mandates, while the other 45 did not. So there's 67 counties in Florida, 22 had mask mandates. So they have really good data on students and staff mask requirements, the staff only mask requirements, and no students, no staff mask requirements. I'll send this to you. The red line is the no masks, no staff for staff or for students. Again, I will email this to you. We have the link for the study that was done. There was literally no difference in having the mask for the children or the staff. The second part, when I talked about this is primarily a disease that impacts of the elderly. Washington State has an excellent dashboard. We've got Microsoft where we had Microsoft in our backyard, and they had an excellent dashboard in which they separated all the COVID deaths out by different age groups and percent of cases, hospitalizations, and deaths. One of the things I think we've all learned is that cases really do not indicate a whole lot. Right now, currently, we have 90% of cases are for those under the age of 64, with 75% of them under the age of 49. However, 82% of deaths are over 65. Well over 60% of that is over 80. So I just ask that, again, I will send you this data, but please do not put masks on our children. Let the parents make that decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila.
Good afternoon, council members. I'm gonna try to hold it together, but my daughter is the one who just.
We need your name and address.
I'm Lisa Bruns, BRUNS. I'm a resident of Draper. I have 3 children on the Canyon School District area, and my daughter just got up here. I didn't tell her to. That was completely her heart, talking about how a mask have affected her this last year at school.
Was your daughter Chloe?
Yes. She doesn't know Robert Rules of Order, sorry. But I've seen it cause a lot of anxiety in her. She didn't talk about that. There were times she hid under her desk at school. I've sent you all emails. I know you got inundated, and I'm so proud of the parents and grandparents and community members who all rallied together to realize that you really are our last line of defense in preventing these mask mandates from coming back. And I know a lot of us are prepared to pull our children from school, which is a sad position to put us in as parents. And, I just want to ask, what are we protecting against, and who are we trying to save? The people who have had the opportunity to have the vaccines, they've had them. And we know from data, and we should be listening to data, that they're more protected from the Delta variant. Anytime there's been any kind of pandemic or sickness in history, we've always quarantined the sick and the vulnerable, not the healthy. And then there's the studies. There was a study done by the British Medical Journal. They published a paper that talked about how cloth masks, which most of our students wear at school, are more dangerous and cause more virus to be spread than the surgical masks or even no masks at all. And then there's the Center for Infectious Disease Policy and Research. And they talked about how, sorry, I'm losing my thought here, that the airborne particles are so small. That's why I made this sign here. The micron size of COVID-19 is 0.06 to 0.14. Okay, the micron size filtered out by the cloth and surgical mask are particle size of 0.3. Okay, so 5 COVID particles can fit in the size of the particle size they're trying to filter out. And again, many people come up here saying that masks don't work. Again, I implore you as a parent, as someone who cares about not just my student, but all the students, please, if there is a mask mandate brought up to you, please shoot it down. I appreciate your work in this. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Lisa. How are you, sir?
Good.
Good.
My name's Charles Bevan. I live in South Salt Lake. Not very good at this, but we'll give it a shot. I think something we need to recognize is what our oath of office that I've even taken as far as our Constitution goes. We are not a democracy. We are a constitutional republic. If one person goes against 99, the Constitution sticks up for that one person. And I think our Constitution has pretty much been shredded by the politicians over the last several decades or more. And I think we need to go back to that. I believe that the Constitution is going to make a return. I think a lot of people are getting sick and tired of being pushed around and told what to do by people that really don't know any more than we do. And I've seen what happened with our vote as far as the medical cannabis goes. Everybody voted for that and we got it to go through, but what happened? Our government changed it. They didn't respect the people. We, the people, are actually in charge, and we're going to take back control. I'm not making this as a threat that I'm going to do something drastic or pick up arms or something like that. I'm just saying that we're tired, and we're going to start standing up, and we're going to start saying, enough's enough. You quit pushing us around. You're not our boss. You work for us, and it's got way out of hand. I mean, number one, our federal government should not be even probably a tenth of the size it is. It is just way out of proportion. They are supposed to work for us. We delegate to them what they are supposed to do, and we can take back that delegation anytime we want. We, the states, have the power, not the federal government, and we need to start recognizing that. Now, I got involved with the Constitutional Sheriffs and Police Officers Association because I believe that we can take back our Constitution and our we the people rights and our liberties through a constitutional sheriff, because constitutional sheriff works for the people, not the government, and they can stand up for the people and protect them. And so that's one reason I got involved with this. The Constitution protects us from this kind of crap. I personally, when I first got involved with this whole virus thing, I was scared. I was wearing a mask, and the whole bit. And my son said, "Dad, these figures don't add up." So I started researching, and they don't add up. And being retired and not having a lot of other things to do, I've done a lot of research. And let me tell you, we're fed so many lies, it's ridiculous. But I gather that's my time
It
being
is.
up.
Thank you, Charles.
You bet. Thank you.
Appreciate seeing you. I'm sorry, what? I didn't hear you.
Read just one thing. But the Constitution protects us from our best intentions.
Thank you. Hi.
How are you?
Good. Hello there, young man. Hi.
Hi, my name is Zia and I live in Sandy.
Zia?
Yeah, Z-E-A.
And your last name?
Colley, C-O-L-L-E-Y.
Thank you.
So I've never done this before, so I feel like I'm probably gonna puke when I leave. I'm super nervous, but you guys have been listening to multiple people come with different points of views, different anecdotal stories, different statistics and studies and all of those things, and I can't do any of that. So I'm just gonna speak to something much broader. And my question, rhetorical, obviously, to all of you, especially those who have their masks on, and no offense, is, are any of you actually listening? Not just sitting there nodding and saying thank you and being very pleasant, but I have kind of become this person that's very logical in that I don't believe that most people are willing to change their core beliefs regardless of evidence or facts, because you can find facts and manipulate facts to fit your own narrative. So for those in the audience who spoke and said, I'm worried for my children. Well, why? Why are you worried? They're not going to die. There are 0 deaths under 18 for the whole year and a half. But are any of you hearing that? Do you know? Most people don't change their core beliefs just because somebody gives them evidence. They have their own agenda, their own narrative. Okay, that's just how people are. I was bored during the beginning of COVID and had nothing to do but research, and some of my core beliefs in life have changed as a result of that boredom. But all of you have your own agendas, and so you wonder, is this worth our time? Is it worth our time to be here? So that's my rhetorical question. My other point is, I just want to make the point that the balance in this room and the activism that has come here from one side versus the other is glaring, okay? 95% of this room, it feels strongly enough to sacrifice their time, their day, their sanity with tiny children, trying to get out of a room with 1 million people talking about nothing that they care about, okay? So the repercussions and the activism that will come if you guys don't listen, don't hear these people, it's going to get worse. They will not stop. Like, they won't stop. I mean, I'm telling you, I get bombarded from two of my mothers, the mother-in-law and the mother constantly. Like, they just are not going to stop. Like, to the point where I'm like, please stop. I get it. But it's good. And they're going to continue. They are not going to get weary. Okay. They will do whatever it takes, read whatever law. It will come back to bite all of you in the ass if you don't pay attention to what the majority of your constituents, your voting constituents want. Okay. That's all.
Thank you, Zia. Thank you. Hello, young lady. How are you?
Good.
Good. What's your first name?
Mia.
Mia. That's a pretty name. M-I-A?
Yeah.
And what's your last name?
Grant.
Spell it.
Grant.
Grant. That is a beautiful name. And where do you live, Mia?
I don't know.
You don't know where you live? What's your town?
I don't know.
You don't know where you live? I think you do. You don't? You can't remember?
Actually, I do know where I live, actually.
Well, what's your hometown? What's the name of it? South
Lehigh.
Jordan, Draper, Salt Lake.
Lehigh.
Lehigh. Okay, that's a good city. Go ahead. What would you like to tell the Salt Lake County Council, Mia?
Some people think they just wear masks 'cause they want money because they just want money for it. And some people think that kids want the teachers to. Some parents think that they want the teachers to, some parents think that kids want to wear masks, but they don't. If you're trying to hear from somebody, kid, I don't want to wear a mask. That's all.
Okay, thank you for coming. Thank you, Mia. You did a nice job. Hello.
I'm Tammy Castlefort, and I live in Salt Lake City at the epicenter of the hysteria. So I'm not going to repeat what has already been said. So any comments I make, I'm going to sound completely disjointed. Forgive me. And this is a great group of people. It gives me some hope. And I think that the conversation has gotten bigger than the actual masks, right? And that's come across. I hate to state the obvious too, but I will. This is a bigger issue of just what the masks are. It's representative of that larger problem. And part of that larger problem is actually a complete loss and collapse in the faith, faith of our institutions, of the media, of so-called experts. Because we have heard conflicting information. That's understandable though, because we do know that knowledge evolves. We understand that. Most people understand that. But, so I won't go, through the flip-flops of what has changed. But a few of the things that have not changed is we know that this COVID is a danger to the elderly, and it is not a danger to the youth. That has not changed. And typically medicine does not treat the young in order to protect the old. That's usually not a sort of a tenet of medicine. So, a few of the things that I'd like to share is, again, it's not just the loss of faith in an institution, but one of the things is, basic biology is being blurred right now. The APA says that masculinity is pathological and harmful. Experts told us that this virus was a function of a natural evolutionary jump from animal to human. We don't know. They don't know, but we have been fed a lot of lies. And the other aspect is there has been some censorship, right? If you look at the Department of Health website that supports the masking of children, the evidence behind it, which people smarter than me go ahead and read that because they do cite studies, right? That BYU study. A lot of it is health-based, hospital-based, and there's some evidence there. It's been shared that there's very, very little or weak evidence on masking children. And as a matter of fact, there have been studies showing that the masks harm children. One of them recently was in JAMA. You guys know what JAMA is, right? That that publication was retracted from JAMA. We have seen this in the New England Journal of Medicine with other data too. Everything has become politicized, even medicine. So we do not trust what we hear, but we trust what we see. Children are not in danger from COVID, and there is very little risk of them spreading. I think that's another constant that hasn't changed.
Take a few minutes to wrap up.
I think I'm wrapped.
You're wrapped? All right. Thank you, Tammy. Hi.
Hi, my name's Anna Barbieri. I'm from Taylorsville, and I came for a different reason, but I thought I would throw this out on behalf of all of those that have hearing impairments. 1 out of 500 children.
What was your last name again?
Barbieri, Barbieri.
Thank you very much. And Taylorsville, did you say?
Taylorsville.
Okay.
1 out of 500 children have hearing impairments. I don't know if you knew that. I have a child with a hearing impairment. This last 18 months has kind of been a nightmare. And she is a young adult in college, and it's just been nearly impossible for her to get what she needs. Fortunately, she's pretty high functioning and has worked around that. I'm here to plead with you, don't put masks on children, because a lot of those children in class don't know they have hearing impairments, and they aren't getting what they need from their teachers, as well as there are a lot of teachers. If 1 of 500 children have hearing impairment, the odds of an adult having hearing impairment go up. You also have teachers that can't hear and they don't know it. So recently I was come across an issue with my own business website that I may be sued because my commercial website is not ADA accessible. If I can be sued for that, then I think that we need to take a closer look at these children in schools that may have deficits, that may have difficulties learning, and we're putting masks on it when the return on investment may be limited. And I appreciate you, all of you, being here today. I know that that's really hard, and you've been more than kind and more than patient with everyone here. And kudos to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Hi.
My name is Erin Tenney. That's Tenney, and I'm from South Jordan. And real fast, I just wanted to piggyback off that that last woman talking about hearing impairments. I have 2 kids that have speech issues and have been in speech therapy. And this last year and a half, really, since all of this happened, their speech has definitely plateaued, and they have not progressed. And it has been very hard for them as they really look to others and how they use their mouth to say things into different letters, and they weren't able to see that all day long in class, especially with their teachers. And so I wasn't planning on talking about that, but since she did, that's something I've noticed too, is that their speech has completely plateaued. But really I came today because I feel like for the last year and a half that our kids have been put last, that we have been putting the needs of adults above kids for a year and a half. And I keep hearing that adults that can make their own health decisions, that can make their own employment decisions above our kids. And so I'm just here for kids, for my 5 kids that I have at home and for all the kids. Last year, my niece was in kindergarten and she came home from school the first week and her mom went to give her a hug. And she said, no, mom, I can't hug you. What if I get you sick? And that's what the kids are learning. Kids, especially little kids, look to adults to see how the world works, how they should react. Should I be scared? Should I be happy? What is happening here? And what they learned in the last year was to be scared for the most part. And so my niece was scared to hug her mom because she might get her sick. And that's what I'm afraid that we are teaching, especially these really young children. My 14-year-old had a really, really hard time when school got let out at the end of that 2020. Time is like a blur during this. So I don't, she had a really hard time. She's very social. It was really hard for her not to be at school, not to be dance, all these things. And she was very, very excited. All my kids were to go back to school. And what she kept saying during the year is, well, they just don't want us there. It seems like our teachers don't even want us there because most everything was pull your mask up, pull your mask up. And she got in trouble. She got sent to the office because her mask was below her nose. And when the assistant principal called me and threatened her with suspension, my daughter tried to say I felt panicky. I felt like I couldn't breathe. And they said, well, that's fine. Just leave class anytime you want and go to the sick room and take your mask off. So that it felt as if teachers weren't worried about education, just masks. And my daughter felt like she wasn't even wanted at school when she was so excited to go back. And then just the last thing I wanted, all of that, masks are bad, whatever. It's just, it all comes down to choice, that we want the choice as parents of what to do. There's a lot of moms here, if you've noticed, and we kind of know our kids and we've sat with them at night and we've held them and we've known that it may seem like they're okay, but we know in our hearts they're not. Or if a doctor says, oh, they're fine, and we know we need to push harder. Or the other way around, when someone says something's wrong with them and we know that they're not. Moms know, parents know, please just give us the choice in this decision with our kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Erin. Hello.
My name is Jamie Garrett. I'm from Harriman.
Garrett, Garrett.
Correct. I'm a mother of 6 kids, ages 20 down to 6. My 18-year-old just barely made it through the high school year. It was a rough year for him. I'm not going to try to say any kind of statistics because those have already been said. And if you don't believe them, you've got some serious case of cognitive dissonance. You can find facts wherever you want to go. But my point here is, where are we going with all this? Where does this lead? I felt from the very beginning that something was very, very, very wrong. Very wrong. My heart knew it. My head knew it. Every lie that we were told that kept going back and forth told me so. And now here we are, and we've conditioned our kids and adults to think that their breathing is bad. And now we're seeing places like New York City implementing vaccine mandates. What comes next? What other cities are watching all this? What other cities are going, yep, that's what we're going to do. Guarantee Salt Lake City will be doing it. Guarantee. What comes after that? When we start mandating that people inject themselves with things that they know nothing about, we do not know the long-term effects of it. You can say these are long-term studies. Bullshit. That is not. We cannot know that because we have not seen it in real life. And when it feels so absolutely wrong down to your core, and we're seeing it pushed on us, and we're saying, oh, well, you can come to the store if you're masked or if you're vaccinated. Oh, but now you've got to have both. Where does this go? And I know a lot of you here are Christian. I know it. The mark of the beast is coming, and I'm not saying this is it, but we are being conditioned for this. We are absolutely being shown that we are not in control, and it is coming, and you guys have to be the barrier between this and that. If you don't stand up for this, the wall is coming, and it's coming fast, and if you can't feel that, you need to get in touch with your spirit because it is coming. And I do appreciate all that you do, and I appreciate your time here, and I appreciate clearing out the calendar for us all to be able to speak. We are all all very, very passionate about this. And like we've heard before, there's a lot of moms here. Mama bears are coming out. We're not putting up with this anymore. And I will pull my kids out of school. I'm fully prepared for it, to do what's right for my kids. And I hope that you can do what's right for the rest of those that maybe can't pull their kids out of school, because this is not okay for children to be putting up with this. That's all I have to say.
Thanks, Jamie. Hi there.
Hello. I am Katie Bueller. I'm from West Valley area.
Bueller?
Yes.
B-U-H-L-E-R?
Yep.
Thank
Yes, it is Bueller. Yes.
It's one of the all-time greatest shows,
Yes.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm here to speak for my 3 children since they can't speak for themselves. My greatest fear is public speaking. I don't care anymore. We all have to speak up, because this is not right for our children. All of us moms in here have seen the damage it's done to our children. You all have children. Most of you, I'm sure, have children. I'm going to try not to get emotional. I showed up to my child's school because he was playing at recess and he fell in the mud several times. And every time I showed up, he walked to the door and he got yelled at for wearing a mask that had fallen under his nose. That's not normal. Like, he should be able to breathe. I had 2 teenagers calling me in the bathroom, panic attacks, because they can't breathe. That's not normal. I have principals telling me that they can have a mask break. What is that? This is our mouth. We should be able to breathe free. I honor and respect those who want to wear masks, but don't force those who don't to wear masks. Let us choose. There's a reason why we have freedoms. We need to keep them. And they're so important for us to stand up for them and to not fall for little situations. Like, this isn't that big of a situation that we all have to mask. It's not. We've all lived in it. So my youngest child is in speech therapy, and it's not helping, because how can you teach a child certain things when you can't see him put his tongue to the top of his mouth? It doesn't work. Kids are falling behind in schools. We need to stop falling for the fear of this world. In 2015, I had an out-of-body experience, and I got told, you have 1 chance to live. That's it, 1 chance. And you're just being safe, and the world's just being safe, and they're not living their purpose. And one of the things we have to do is dare to live instead of living in fear, covering our faces, silencing the children. Like, if anybody was out of masks first, it should have been the children. They should have come first over every adult in this room. So I ask all of you, please do not do this to our children. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Katie. Hello.
Hello, I'm Janelle Stevens from Murray, Utah. I'm towards the end because I kept on talking myself out of coming up here. But again, I'm just going to kind of share some personal things from like my family and kids in the neighborhood, because all these facts that have been shared, like, I totally agree with, except for my very own congresswoman who already stepped out. I'm in her district. I talked to her when she came door to door, went to her town hall at the park. Myself and so many of our neighbors do not agree with what she is saying when she came over here and said that all she's getting are emails from people saying they want mandates. And the reason she may be getting those emails is because everybody realizes that it's down to all of you. She lost her chance of voting against the special bill, but it's up to you. You're the last line of defense right here. So I have 4 children, ages, well, when they were in school, it was 4 to 11. So now they're a little older now. But again, like some of these mothers have said with speech therapy, I have a 1st grader who cannot say like 7 letters. He can't say is, the, sh, chus, t's, r's. Putting him in masks, like, yes, he goes to speech therapy, but even then she's like a clear mask. But every day not being able to see how people form their words, like, that is not helping him at all. His 1st grade teacher for the entire class got special permission at the very beginning of the year to wear a plastic mask so the kids could actually see her lips when she was forming the letters and everything. We went into her classroom at the very end of the year under like special circumstances. She had literally a basket full of masks that she said she had tried to use, but she finally, luckily, we're at a school where she actually opens up to like outside because they're at a charter school. So she's like, I finally just started standing in the outside door with my mask off during reading time so the kids could actually see my face. My children sitting at lunch, they obviously take their masks off to eat. They were told in a very loving way, I love their teacher, but they were told that they could not turn side to side or backwards to talk to their friends because they had to eat their food, put their masks on. Our school, unfortunately, my children had to wear their masks at recess as well as in the classroom. My fourth grader would get in the car sometimes. I'd be like, where's your mask? Oh, they had to give me a new one. My other mask was so like wet and gross from the humidity. They had to give me another mask. My 4-year-old was at preschool where the teacher chose to have them wear masks, even though like talking to her, she doesn't support that, but she felt as a liability to her business that she needed to kind of follow the guidelines of what the district in her area was doing. Same thing, my son would come back and his whole circle of his mask was just like wet and gross and nasty. There's no way that that can be good for the kids and their immune system all day long doing that. So that's just like the physical, one of the many physical aspects of it. But like my niece, you know, in school, they started being awarded like table points for like following the teacher's rules. And one of the biggest ones was if you wore your mask. And she was one of those offenders that sometimes wore her mask, you know, underneath her nose. And so she would be totally singled out. All the kids at her table would be like, hurry, hurry, put your mask up. The teacher's coming, and almost like bullying her into it. She already had an awful year with toxic friends anyways. That's not helping her at all with that. And we talk about our core beliefs. I feel like a parent should be able to help their child with core beliefs. And I feel like the fear that's being instilled with our children that they need to wear these masks at all times, like trying to convince my child, like, oh no, we can go into the store. And I wore a mask. I wore a mask to be, you know, the kind thing to my neighbors. And it wasn't until my daughter, my 6th grader, explained to me that it was the normal thing to do, Mom. It's normal to wear a mask, and that I was cuckoo crazy because I didn't have a mask on, that I was like, forget this. Like, I'm going to teach my children by example that I get to make the decisions and teach you that is not the government and is not your teachers that are being dictated to by the federal or state levels. I mean, I had kids on my kids' soccer teams that were like running out and playing soccer. Their parents weren't wearing masks, but the kids thought it was so normal and so conditioned that they would run around playing a full soccer game, wearing masks and just watching it heave in and out. So I thank you for your time. And I ask you to please consider this and just point out that the majority of people speaking here do not want masks. And those who have opposing views work for the government. And I never thought that I would put myself in a place, like I'm a law-abiding citizen. Like I never thought I'd put myself where I feel like rebellious to go somewhere or teach my children not to wear a mask at school.
Thank
I
you,
never thought I'd be there.
Janelle.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Lana Fink, F-I-N-K. I'm from West Jordan. I'm a clinical social worker. I'm a clinical social worker. I care the most about my children's emotional development, which is why my kids did not go to school last year, because of the fear programming. This is psychological warfare that we are placing on our children. Out of my 5 kids, I had my 15-year-old chose that he did want to go to high school, and I could see the programming that was happening to him. I don't know what else to say except please give parents a choice. I don't know where Angela Dunn is. I'd love to know where Angela Dunn is, because Angela Dunn apparently thinks that, you know, what she wants is then mandated on everyone. This is ridiculous. And I have my kids now enrolled in a Montessori charter and an online charter. And my kids are like, oh, we're going to school next Monday. Well, I actually don't know, because I knew that even though you guys were going to make sure that Cox wasn't able to do this, that it was going to be able to weasel their way around. And as my kids said, well, we go to school Monday. I don't actually know, because I don't know when they're going to pop it in that, no, we are going to wear masks. This is ridiculous. And it's happening for these parents. And we have to make choices for our kids. We have to drop everything and say, oh, I'm sorry. You know, someone came in and bulldozed you guys out of fear. And now I have to now go, okay, well, we got to now stop it. I'm sorry, Phoenix. You're not going to be able to be with a whole bunch of kids. But you know what? I took them to the trampoline park 4 times a week throughout the whole school year without any masks because they were home and they needed to have activity. And nobody got sick. My kids never wear masks. We haven't since the beginning of them going out. And they're fine. And they don't have all the psychological warfare. In fact, it's kind of like, well, people are still wearing masks. Yeah, sorry. They're still playing that pandemic game. Kids don't want it. Parents don't want it. If you guys want to live in the fear, if you guys feel so secure in like wanting people to tell you what to do, then let people have a choice to do that. You want to live in fear? Great. Live in fear. No, I'm not going to. And I'm not going to subject my kids to that programming, that constant fear, 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 fear. Thank you.
Thank you, Lana. Hi there.
I had zero intention of sitting in this spot. He asked me to come up and he said he was going to be my right-hand man.
You're going to take care of mom, right? Yes, sir. Okay, if I could get your name first. What is it? Bentley?
Bentley.
Bentley. That's a cool name. And your last name? Moffett. And ma'am, your name?
I'm Brittany.
Brittany. And where do you guys live?
We live in Draper.
Draper. Perfect.
So I've actually struggled through the last year and a half just with feelings of not having a voice. So that's why I told him a couple of weeks ago, as mask mandates started to be tossed around, that I would stand up for him. He really struggled wearing a mask to school. And as it's come up, there's been a lot of anxiety for him, as that's been a possibility as well. For me personally, I have a medical exemption with masks. Going anywhere and having to stand up for myself and my personal health and being shamed and bullied for doing so was hard for me as an adult. So I can't even imagine what it is like for kids when, if it's below their nose, if they're not wearing it appropriately, or if they step outside without it on. So I am also here. There's a gazillion other things that I could say that most of it has already been said, statistics and numbers and all these things. And I respect people's right to choose to wear a mask, but I do believe that we should have a choice. And I would ask that we don't mandate this, especially for our kids. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brittany. Bentley, do you want to say anything? Grab the microphone.
I think that they're just unnecessary because they're I've been sent home twice from school because apparently someone got the Rona, and I was completely fine the next few weeks or days, I forgot, but when I got sent home I was still fine, but when I went back I was still fine, and I just think they're unnecessary. We don't need them. Thank you.
Thank you, Bentley. For an impromptu speech, that was excellent. Hi there.
I'm so nervous.
Don't be nervous. You're amongst friends.
And now I'm realizing I know Arlen. Hi, Arlen. Samantha's sister.
Arlen's an extra nice guy.
Woohoo! Okay, guys.
What's your name?
Amanda Moxley.
Moxley?
Yeah.
Where do you live, Amanda?
Cottonwood Heights.
Okay.
First of all, Mr. DeBryan, thank you so much for letting us all speak.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate that.
You're welcome.
It means a lot to us because I feel like our voices can be seriously shamed. And I am the only one in my family that would be here. In fact, you know, Sam, don't tell her. Just kidding. Text her right now. Okay. Anyway, so I have 2 children, and my children are 9 and 11, and they went to school this year, and they were threatened to be, what is the word? Kicked out of school for not wearing their mask or having their mask below their nose. They got tested to go to Sylvan Learning Center this year, and they tested like 2 years behind grade level. My son has an IEP for dyslexia and with reading and math. He was really challenged with the reading. He was really challenged with the math, and he wasn't able to learn, obviously. So I'm worried that if we continue to mask the kids, I also agree with the woman who is a licensed clinical social worker. I feel like I can't breathe. I can breathe. Let me just take a breath. Thank you. Okay. So, the social and emotional development on the kids and how it's affecting them and affecting their self-esteem and also affecting the way they're communicating in school and connecting in school. So I know a lot of you guys have heard a lot today, and I really hope it's penetrating into your hearts and your minds, and that you can actually hear that we are the majority, even though we don't have like the deep pockets and we're not quite yet sitting on these school boards and all the things that we're about to sit on. I just hope you can hear us because we are parents and we're mama bears, and we will not back down and we will not quit. And we really hope that when are you guys voting?
There's nothing to vote on yet.
Now,
Okay.
we'll just listen. If you want any dialogue or
Okay.
call us, text us, we'll
Okay.
get back with you, but we can't start the back
Okay,
and forth.
sorry.
We're just here with big ears and big hearts and
Thank you.
all the
Yeah.
information.
So I just hope that you will just listen to us and understand that people can have the choice. If they want to be masked, they could be masked. If they don't, let them have a choice. So I just letting you guys know, I am taking my kids out of that school, and thankfully my daughter's going to go to a private school where they're not wearing the masks. And I'm glad that I have the ability to do that, and that my son with the IEP, they cannot help him in that way. So he has to go to the public school. And I told him yesterday, I said, okay, you have to wear the mask. And he's more interested in fitting in. I do not want to raise a little sheep. I love my son, but I don't want to raise a little kid that just wants to fit in, right? Who wants to just fit in life? We need to have individual expression of ourselves. So I'm just really concerned that if we continue with this, we're going to just continue to raise people who just lockstep and don't think for themselves. Thank you.
Thanks, Amanda. We have time for anyone who wants to address us.
All the Salt Lake people, Salt Lake County.
That's fine. Perfect. If I could just get your name and where you live.
Heather Fannin, Weber County,
And would you, Heather, spell your last name, please?
Fannen.
Thank you, Heather.
Thank you for taking the time to do this. We've been to many state school board meetings, and they have not offered us the same respect. So I deeply thank you for giving us all the time just to open up this meeting, even drop what your agenda was today to listen to us speak. I have 2 children in elementary school, and we moved from what was supposed to be one of the best school districts to one of the worst. We went from Alpine to Weber. And I will tell you, Weber is very, very lacking as far as education. These masks only hurt. My son went from loving school. He's going into the 5th grade. Went from loving school, being passionate about getting all of his school gear and all of his materials to go and learn. He cries and begs me not to send him to school. And it is so hard to send them off. And we do have a medical exemption, but when he wore the plastic mask at school, the kids would hit it off and they would tease him. I teach survival skills. We know that these cloth masks are ineffective. If you were going into a down building to rescue somebody, you wouldn't use a cloth mask. They do not filter out a virus. There is no proof that there are masks contagious, any incidences in these elementary schools that prove that they should be wearing a mask. Nobody's getting sick in the schools, and the only reason why they're wearing masks is because there are adults that are afraid, who have been controlled by the social media and are buying into this agenda. I have been to so many rallies and so many get-togethers, and I know 3 people that have contracted COVID. And their symptoms were so small. It was, I mean, it's ridiculous to have these mass shutdowns and shutting down businesses, period. And I didn't have all my thoughts organized, so I apologize if I'm all over the place. I get emotional when I'm publicly speaking. I also want to shed light to everyone who's listening. If this is public, I want to shed light on SB 195. I was there sitting in that hearing, and I heard Richard Saunders of the health department himself state that he did not order the mask mandates, and it straight up came from Herbert. He has no degree in medicine and he should not be in that position, period. I don't know why he was elected or elevated from the people to that position. It seems like it's a big buddy system to me. And I feel like that buddy system is targeting regular citizens and laws and bills like SB 195. I want you all to read it. It allows our federal government and our health department officials to quarantine and take possession of private property, even if they are healthy. What is going on here? This is not acceptable in any way, shape, or form. What are we doing? We elevate you guys to these positions. We trust you, but that trust is diminishing fast. And we have the right to get you guys out of these positions. We trust you to do what is right. We trust you to protect our children. We trust you to protect our rights. There is science and there's a lot of politics. Do what is right.
Thank you, Heather. Hi there.
Hi,
I like your shirt.
thank you.
What's your name and where do you live?
Trisha Blank. I live in Taylorsville. I appreciate your
Blank, B-L-A-N-K.
correct.
Okay, thank you.
I appreciate your time today. This is a big issue for a lot of us. First, I want to mention that the true medical information has been blocked. I don't know if you guys have heard of American Frontline Doctors. They are doctors all over the world that have worked together to find a cure for COVID. And then there have been fake studies on hydroxychloroquine saying that it is not beneficial. And in those studies, they either did not use zinc, which has to be used with the hydroxychloroquine in order to work, or they were using such high doses that they already knew it caused heart problems. The hydroxychloroquine is safe and effective. My husband got COVID. He started losing his taste and smell. We called American Frontline Doctors. They got him the hydroxychloroquine. He took that with zinc. Within 2 days, he was almost completely better. They're treating them incorrectly in the hospitals. The hydroxychloroquine and the ivermectin can be used as a preventative. So if you're worried about getting sick, you can take one of those and that will prevent you from getting COVID. It prevents the viruses from multiplying in your system and making you sick. So instead of pushing the vaccines and pushing the masks that don't work, neither one of them work, we should be spreading this information of how to keep yourself healthy and protect yourself from the disease, something that actually works. Sorry, I had one other thing and I just forgot what it was. I recently heard from a lady who works at she works for a fertility clinic, and she had this woman that has come in on a regular basis to donate eggs for in vitro. A while after she got the shot, she went in and donated again. Not a single egg was viable. These vaccines are causing infertility, and now they're pushing to give it to our children. Do we really want our children to never be able to have kids? So I hope everybody's focusing on the masks, but I know the next thing they're going to be pushing is the vaccines. Please do not allow them to force those on our children or on us. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Tricia. Hi.
Hi. I have a sign.
We've been seeing that all
I
day. I
know.
like it.
So I'm
What's your name and where do you live?
Rebecca Olson. I'm from Highland. So I would speak to the fact that when they're rallying people to come, I learned about this very late last night. I had guitar lessons. I cleared my schedule. I was washing my shirt. I wore it wet. I was making a sign on the way. Mama bears are going to come from all over the state. And the reason we're coming to your meeting is because what happens in Salt Lake is kind of what happens in the state, and everybody else follows suit. And so you set precedents for what's going to happen. And I've been dealing with Alpine School District. Someone said, you know, it was good for education. Maybe the numbers, they're good in test scores, but on all the school districts, I'm telling you, my experience with them is they're going to follow the money. They're going to follow whoever has the power and tells them what to do. And they don't care about our kids. That's the experience I've gotten. And there's been so many good things said. What I would say is the masks don't work. None of this works. It's harmful. So you weigh out the risks and you weigh out the benefits. And it's a clown world that would suggest we should mask our kids, that we should do any of these things. And she's right. If the whole point of masking them is to force mandate vaccines on them, parents have the right to do what the parents want is best for their children. And I don't think it was touched on emotional and anxiety and everything. Soon after this scamdemic started, there were doctors coming out who are psychologists and psychiatrists saying, my patients of little kids and the teenagers and like 400% increase in depression and suicide. And that I have cried countless buckets of tears over what's going on in this world, and especially to our kids. I have a senior, and I did get him a mask mandate, and Alpine School District drug their heels forever. This kid who was so happy he didn't care about school. He didn't want to go to school. He was anxious. He was agitated. He was not like the kid I knew. He was getting acne on his face, which made it difficult for his close friends. And like they said, they didn't know any of their peers. They had no activities. They had to create their own activities. They came after the parents for trying to help them get a prom or whatever. They've had their lives destroyed and everything taken away from them. That's not even talking the educational component. But then to find out kids who are going, there's nothing to live for. I will kill myself. And I even heard those words come out of my son's mouth. He goes, if they make me wear a mask going back to school, I will kill myself. And I think he was kidding, but I have to take it seriously. Like, it is such a serious thing. And what are we doing it for? For nothing. The masks don't work. And the people who suggest they do aren't doing any research. Simple as that.
Thank you, Rebecca. Hello.
Russell Blank, Taylorsville. I didn't prepare any comments other than what I've scribbled while I've been here. Thanks for your time. When this all started, 18 months ago, yeah, I was nervous. We were scared. We wore the mask, hand sanitizer, all that stuff. When they told us to start wearing masks, it's like, yeah, a mask isn't going to work on a virus. I know that. So I started, doing the research. And this was before there was a lot of political bias in these research articles. Many of them going back decades. Masks can't stop the virus. It's impossible. The people that work with viruses, they wear level A hazmat suits. Why don't they wear masks? If we wanted to avoid getting sick by a virus, we would have to wear level A hazmat suits all over the place. How many times in your life has somebody tooted and it's gone through their underwear and through their pants and you smell it? That's all the evidence you need to know that a mask doesn't work. I'm Christian. Revelations 18:23 speaks to this. It says, by thy sorceries are all nations deceived. The Greek definition of sorceries is pharmakia. By thy pharmakia are all nations deceived. Do you want to be deceived? We don't want to be deceived. I was deceived. If you're going to be making decisions on the behalf of us, you need to be educated before you make any tyrannical decisions. You shouldn't make any tyrannical decisions. But if you're doing it based on ignorance, it's not going to work. I've spent over 1,000 hours studying this topic because to watch society go off the cliff for no reason, it's mind-blowing. And that's what drives me to do the study. I've looked at hundreds and hundreds of charts of cities and comparisons like North Dakota versus South Dakota. Anyway, the people that have restrictive lockdowns and mask mandates, the trajectories are the same, except those that have the more restrictive measures do a little bit worse. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of charts like that. The masks are actually a little bit worse. You need to study the PCR tests and understand what fraud this whole pandemic has been driven by case counts. PCR tests generate false positives, like 97%. You have to know about that stuff before you make any decisions. Understand what the cycle threshold is in these PCR tests, okay? Anything above a cycle threshold of 35 is gonna kick out a false positive. We're running them at 40 and 43. They don't even count cases the same now. If you're unvaccinated, they count a case the same way they always have. If you're vaccinated, they won't count it the same way. If you have less than a cycle threshold of 28, they're not going to count it, or you have to be hospitalized or die. It's not even fair. Everything that we measure in society, the scales are tweaked, and we need everything to be legitimate. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Russell. Hello.
My name is Julie Clausen. I'm from Cottonwood Heights.
Clausen?
Clausen.
Thank you.
I have 2 children in high school. One will be a senior, one will be a sophomore. My senior, to-be senior, stayed home from school last year and did school online strictly because of the anxiety she was feeling about masks, vaccinations, COVID, going back to school with friends and not being able to socialize and be with them in a way that was comfortable. My 15-year-old son, who will be a sophomore, has been put on depression medication, anxiety medication because of these very same issues. I'm curious why only 3 of you are masked. Personal choice. Thank you. That's the same choice that parents want for their children. It's the same choice that my children want for themselves. They're old enough to make choices. They may not be 18, but they can make choices. And that's what parents want. And that's what we deserve as Americans. We live in a free country. We want to live our lives the way that we deem necessary for our families. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Julie. Hi there.
My name is Ashley Cole, and I'm from Holiday. My family moved here from the greater New York City area about a year ago. I was raised in Salt Lake City, and when I was in high school, my dad moved my family to New York for his work. For 22 years, I loved it so much, and I was pulled back here for my husband's work. And when this all happened, I was so grateful to come to this state. I was so grateful for freedom. I was so grateful for choices. And it has just felt like it has been slipping away. I have 5 of my 6 kids are in school, and one of them I could not send to school last year. It was my mother gut said, that mask on her face is not going to help her little light inside of her. You can't do it. And she was so excited to go this year. And the last few days when this has come up in our family, my kids are just so stressed, so worried. I have my 14-year-old texting me constantly, Mom, how's it going? Are we going to have to wear masks? Please tell me you don't have to do it again. Being brand new from the Northeast, which is pretty foreign around here, was a hard year already. And putting masks on brand new kids, anyone, it's hard. And they are just so stressed and so worried, and the anxiety and, oh no, please don't make me put it on and get out of the car. You have to put it on. As a mother, to force you have to put that on to get out of the car because you have to wear it when you're out of the car walking into your school. It has been so hard. My kids all had COVID. My husband and I had COVID. Christmas morning, we woke up and started feeling sick, so we didn't go anywhere. My kids, one had a headache. My newborn had a light fever for one day. My husband and I were very sick. We've been more sick with other things, but we still have to wear a mask. We have it. I have a friend who was in an antibody study. She had to be COVID free for a year to be in the antibody study. She had 14 times the antibodies a year later from having COVID. No one has talked about if you've had COVID. There is some herd immunity going on among the kids. And I thought the whole reason we were having masks was to protect the teachers last year. Well, they have vaccines if they want them. No one is saying, well, if you want a vaccine, you have it. And the kids are not being affected very much at all. I'm telling you, I have 6 and they all got it. And it was like quite interesting watching them all run around and us being laying there like miserable, but it's such a blessing that kids are not suffering. So let's not make them suffer. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ashley. Hi, come on up.
name is Marcy Mehmet, and I am from Bluffdale. Thank you, all of you, for being here today. I know it's a topic that's just weighed heavy on all of us. And last year, I kept my little girls out of school. I am a mother of 8, and I have twin daughters that will be 9, one who is high functioning autistic. And when she tried to wear the mask, she gagged. It didn't work well. My other daughter, when she tried to wear it like a good sport, she panicked and had a meltdown at Traverse Mountain during Christmas shopping. But she wanted to be in good spirits. This last year and a half, I've observed all of you and in so many different areas of importance. And I want all of you to know from the bottom of my heart, I see the light in each of you that sees the light in us, to choice, to freedom, to self-regulation. And I trust that you're going to make the right decision for our children, for all of us, because we're all putting a lot of faith in you. I just want you to know I believe in you. And thank you for being here.
Thank you, Marcy. Thank you. Would anyone else in the audience like to address the county council? Yeah, come on up. Pardon? That's okay. It's public comment. You can come up and you've got 3 minutes to address the council on anything you wish. You're just fine. If you're just perfect. So give us your name and address.
Sherry Orn. I'm serving currently the residents of Harriman on the Harriman City Council. And I'm just here to address an item, I forget, 3 point something on your agenda, if you get to that today, will be on the annexation for Olympia Hills. There's some language in that resolution that's concerning to us. It talks about us you guys having a desire for us to perhaps adopt the MDA that was approved here at the county and or adopt certain provisions of it. Well, the language is loose and we certainly still have the option whether or not we do or not. I just feel like it sends the wrong message. We would just really appreciate it if that was just stricken from that resolution and Harriman would be allowed to do our own due diligence and work with the residents in our area. And even more than that, we want to have dialogue with the county council and ask you why you had certain things in the MDA and things like that too. But we would just like to self-direct that process, and the language in it feels a little stifling, and we would just ask that that is removed from that resolution. There's also a rumor, I would say, about the Utah State campus being moved again. I can tell you it's been promised in Harriman a lot of times. I attended a groundbreaking ceremony for that campus actually on the very end of one of our streets here not very long ago, several months ago. So as you consider perhaps moving that, I would ask you to be cautious about moving that. It has been something that has been promised to Harriman for a long, long time. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. Would anyone else like to address the county council on any subject at this time from the audience? Oh, ma'am, come on up.
I'll hurry. I know you guys want to be done. Okay, Becky Hope. I'm from Davis County. We need some help down there. I just wanted to say that if people can make George Floyd a hero for saying, "I can't breathe," how about we listen to our kids? Thank you.
Thank you, Becky. So before I make some closing comments, do we have anyone else on the line, Shaquille, that's joined us by chance? Okay. Did you want to give a comment to the council? Come on up. Hi.
Hi. So my name is Emily and I go to Brighton High School.
And my thoughts
What's
are
your last name, Emily?
Clausen.
Clausen? And where do you live?
So I live in Cottonwood Heights, just
Perfect.
right next to Brighton.
Yep.
So my thoughts on masks are that because a lot of issues that go pretty unnoticed, for example, this past school year, I recently started having pretty severe anxiety and depression. And so wearing masks was a large barrier in between communicating with friends and going through that barrier. And I think that the masks make it harder to communicate with not only friends, but teachers. And they make it hard to just relate with the other kids and to feel like you're part of something together. And I think that I think they cause a lot of anxiety and distance between people, teachers and students, teachers together, students with other students, and it can be hard to create bonds in school, which are really important that kids will remember for the rest of their lives. And it's really hard to do that, in my opinion. And I think that, for example, I play on the basketball team, and I'm not exactly sure if that's part of this discussion, but I feel like it's pretty hard to just tell everybody to wear masks because in reality, a lot of the time, they're just being taken off and people will just take them off when the teacher's not looking, or in the halls when they're walking around, they're not actually wearing them for a lot of kids are. And I've noticed that, and that's just my personal experience with masks.
Thank you, Emily. Hi.
My name's Tanya Pearl, no A in the Pearl. I'm from Utah County. I just came to support the call. And for me, it's a matter of choice. I don't care if you wear a mask. That's your decision to make. That's your right to make. If you choose not to, also, both sides should be honored. There should be not this segregation happening of who's right and who's wrong. It's simply your choice, your decision, your ability to decide that. And it's you as our elected officials to respect that. I have 6 children. My oldest struggled a lot. It's been hard on him. My youngest was in kindergarten. 2 of my children have medical exemptions. They got to wear the shield. But that also created so many issues. It needs to be a personal decision that the parents get to make. That same kindergartner, they got letters written to all their classmates. And normally that response to the child would be, "You're cute. I like you. You're funny." My daughter, 22 out of the 25 students, every single letter she got said, "I like your smile," because she had a shield on. She was the only one in that entire school. The children got to see a full face and to have interaction with. The children need to connect. The children need to connect with their teachers, with their peers. And with a mask that is limited, whether you believe it's right or wrong, it's just limited. So let the parents decide. Let the children decide in the high schools if they want to do that. And that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. Would anyone else in the audience like to address the county council on this issue or any other? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close public comment, and I'll say a couple of things, and then I'll have any council members that wish to say anything as well. Number one, thank you for your attendance. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your courtesy and your respect. Thank you for the respect of this meeting. And I will assure you that we listen. We don't just idly sit here. We listen. And time is valuable. The greatest equalizer in life is time. I don't care who you are, how rich or poor you are. There's 24 hours in a day, and time is valuable. So I respect and thank you for your time. And I hope you do the same for us in our positions. Thank you all for being here. At this time, would any council member, point of privilege, like to say anything? Let's go to Richard, and we'll go to Dave.
I would like to thank the constituents for coming, particularly those from Salt Lake County. Thank you for being here. We're public servants. Those of you from outside of Salt Lake County, welcome. It's nice to have you in our county. While you're here, please spend a little money. It always helps our tax base. But that being said, we live in a republic. We work for the people we serve, and your opinion is respected. And thank you for being here. And it's an honor to serve you. Thank you.
I just wanted to indicate that my vote will be not to support a mask mandate. I think the argument in the beginning may have had, it was more of a tug of war, but when the advent of the vaccine came, now people have options. So now it's time to return to liberty. So that's where I intend to follow.
Amy.
Thanks. I know it's not easy to sit here for this long, especially with little ones. And we know you guys are all busy people too. So thanks for taking the time to come and talk to us and share your thoughts. And for those of you who are emailing, we're reading your emails and we appreciate hearing your perspective. Just to clarify the process. So we only have a decision to make if our health department decides to issue a mask mandate. If that happens, then the council does have the ability to roll that back. So anyway, I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that that wasn't on the table at all today. I know Chairman DeBrey had mentioned that earlier, but for those who maybe came later, but we do appreciate hearing your thoughts and your feedback. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Amy. Any other council members wish to make comments? If not, I'm going to call for a 5-minute recess. Dee?
Yeah. Thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate it. I know there are a lot of people from my district. I'm from Draper, Cottonwood Heights, Sandy, and I applaud you for coming out. Your comments matter, your voice matters, and I have received so many emails. I haven't been able to respond to all of them yet, but we're listening. We hear you. I stand with you. I agree. So thank you.
Thank you once again. We'll stand in recess for 5 minutes. Reconvene council. How long is it going to be? time at this, I'm going to recall the Salt Lake County Council meeting to order. At this time, we're going to go to Pam Roberts out of the chute on 3-4 Wasatch Front Waste and Recycling District presentation regarding desire to reorganize from special service district to a local district. And I've been promised that she'll keep it to 7 or 8 minutes. And I also want to recognize Honorable Dwight Marchant from Mill Creek, one of our council members and a dear friend of mine. Thank you for coming, Dwight.
And Scott Bracken from.
And where's Scott? Scott?
Where's Scott?
Have everybody introduce.
Yeah, interview, show us the team, and then you got the floor.
Yeah, turn on the mic and close the door.
Okay.
Or don't-
Hopefully you got that on. Okay, good. We do have board members here present, and I'll let them introduce themselves. And then we also have some online that are logged in. So can you go ahead and kick us off, Keith?
Hit the mic and green light. There you
I
go.
got the green light there.
There you go.
My name's Keith Zussman. I'm the council member for the town of Brighton and a board member for the Wasatch Front.
Diane Turner, Murray City Council Member, District 4.
Sherry Orrin, Harriman City Council.
Rachel Anderson. I am the attorney for Wasatch Front Waste and Recycling District.
Hi, Dwight Merchant, Mill Creek City Council Member, District 2, and thank you for having us.
I believe Scott Bracken, our board chair, is online. Scott, can you just confirm? Okay. I believe Brent Peel from Magna is on. Are you still with us, Brent?
Yes, Pam, I am online. I just got admitted to where I could unmute, but yes, I'm here. Thanks.
Welcome, Brent, a longtime family friend from the DeBrys.
That was Scott Bracken, but Brent, are you there?
Brent Peel?
Brent Peel.
I am. Thank you. Thank you, Steve.
You bet, Brent.
And then Chris Nickel from Sandy City, are you on? Chris Nickel from Sandy City. I think she's still on, but anyway, let me just kick it off to say that for those of you that are not familiar with the district, it was established in 1977. I won't start from that point. In 2013, we were spun off, so to speak. So the district became its own organization. We took on all administrative functions. I serve as the chief executive officer, chief administrative officer. We manage HR, payroll, everything in-house. We also took on the administrative task of billing when we separated, which was quite the undertaking, which is kind of part of why it's taken us so long to come back to you as the council, because we had to kind of get our feet underneath us, get steady again. And then also it's probably a good thing we were delayed because we've had 7 new incorporations in the past 2 years, actually. Well, 2 years running. 17, we had the 5 metros in Mill Creek City. And then just in 2019, if I'm not mistaken, is the town of Brighton incorporated. So the unincorporated county that's still in our district and we're proud to service reduced to 2,200 homes, or 8% of our district population, with Mill Creek being the largest portion, close to 18%, and Taylorsville at almost 17. So anyway, all of our residents, we're very proud to service them. Glad to be here to ask you for this reorganization, which is allowed under state statute. It was newly amended in 2013 with Woodford specifically in mind. That's the acronym for our district. It's shorter and sweeter and hopefully easier. So with that, Scott Bracken's online. I know he and our Vice Chair Sherry Orrin from Harriman are prepped to kind of review how the board feels about this. My main thing is that it will help us be more efficient administratively. It will eliminate an extra step that we have to take under the state statute 17B as a special district. It would eliminate some of those extra steps and allow the board total governance over the district. So, Scott, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you. I've been one of the board members. I think the only one that's been on there longer than me is Councilman Bradley. Yeah, when we undertook the separation in 2012, there were some legal reasons that we couldn't go form a local district at the time, and the county council at that time delegated as much authority as was possible to us. Since then, the statute has been changed, and I think we can. We've been looking towards the kind of the end result of that original intention in 2012 to separate Wasatch Front Waste and Recycling as its own local district. With the legislative change, basically what it gets down to is it allows our board to make those decisions, whether it's the board composition or whether it's things that Pam has explained, without having that extra step. We're not a tax, we don't assess a property tax, but that would be another example of things that we would undertake with local, with the direct control. I just drew a blank on my mind as the one other point that I was going to make, but I think we have been very successful as a board since 2013 when we started, and making some decisions and keeping things lean. Pam has done an excellent job in running the organization, but we did have those items that came up, a few with when the Metro Townships incorporated things where under law we couldn't take that action ourselves, and we needed to just go back to the county council. So we're asking that we finalize that process. The county council is the one that needs to make that decision, and then we can move forward with the municipalities and Metro Townships that the service area serves.
So the thought with this change is that nothing really will change as far as how the residents are serviced. We'll still have the 86,000 homes in the district. Part of this process is to have all of the municipalities sign off on this. That's one of the steps for this to happen. The cities and the metros went ahead and adopted resolutions just to show that they support this change. They accept it. That's part of the legality of it, is they do have to accept the change. Understanding full well that you as the county council, we respect the fact that you are the ones to decide, but each city and township did want to just show you that they support this. So I think we're open to questions or comments or any other comments from our board.
Questions for Pam or the board?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Richard.
I'd like to go on record supporting this change. In fact, I'll make the motion that to approve Wasatch Front Waste and Recycling be granted independent special district status. To me, it seems it's in the interest of better efficiency.
Local districts.
But you're responsible to your taxpayers, to the ratepayers, and obviously they deserve an efficient and well-run organization. And by being independent, put you in an environment where you can shop for your best deals. Right now, you're domiciled at the county's Public Works building. Your fleet maintenance, I believe, is done by Salt Lake County. So maybe we're not competitive. If not, we should be. But you have every right and responsibility to shop around those services so that you're getting the best deal for your customers, which are the taxpayers. That's a concept I support, and I think all of us can support. So
Yeah, well, Mr. Chairman, this was not scheduled for a vote today. There's some deliberations the council has to make
I withdraw my motion.
and decide whether.
But I am on record where I'm coming from.
To prepare a resolution, and we will.
It's
deliberate.
informational right now, and we've got in the queue, we have Ann and then Amy.
Just a couple of quick questions as we go forward to address the landfill and existing contracts. Those are the questions that I would like to see addressed, if you would. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann. Amy? Oh, okay, you good? Okay.
Thank you. Thanks you guys for your patience today. I know it was a kind of a crazy council meeting for you to be at. I just wanted to also express my support. I think this is good. We know we're going to still have a good partnership with you with the landfill and all the other things. I am so confident in our Salt Lake County services that I am not afraid that by doing this, it's somehow going to jeopardize that. I know we don't get to make the final decision today, but I would like to make a motion to ask our staff to start drafting a resolution of support And then we can continue to debate that, but then we at least have some of that work moving forward. So anyway, I will make that motion.
Second.
Motion by Amy, second by Richard. Any further discussion?
I'm good.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you.
Chair.
Yes.
Chair DeBrey, could I just ask that?
Yes.
The mayor's office be able to come back in a few weeks and just share the things that we think need to be buttoned up before that resolution is put on the agenda and passed by the council?
You can bring that back, yes.
Okay, all right.
No.
So Pam, the one thing that I do have in my notes, Yasi will call and get the answer about, he just wanted to make sure that, how can we ensure every residence in our jurisdiction unincorporated can get garbage services? And I guess there's been some unincorporated areas that they want, that their cans, in my notes, were down the road or refuses to service certain streets. And I don't know the specifics on that, and we really don't have the time to do a deep dive, but he'll be calling you just to get more data on that. Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Can I ask?
Yes.
With the mayor's, she's got some concerns, I understand. Is that something you could get to us before the next meeting so we kind of understand it in writing?
I wouldn't necessarily say they're concerns, just things that we would like to be addressed before
Okay.
taking this. Today we just wanted to take the council's direction, and I think the council is clear that that's the direction they would like to head in. And knowing that direction, we would just like to identify the things that we would just like outlined. I'm not, maybe 2 weeks, if that would be possible.
What's the council's brothers? 2 weeks is fine with me.
All right, thank you.
Okay, perfect. Anything else? Sorry about the expeditious nature of this, but as you could see, we had our hands full.
Yeah, I too neglected to thank you. That was, I applaud all of you for listening to your constituents.
Thank
That was
you.
very impressive to know that their voices could be heard. So thank you for taking.
And Councilwoman, let me say that we're going to address the item 3.6 in our 4 o'clock if you want to hang around for that. And I think what we'll do now is go to our COVID update to finish. We don't have B of E, so we'll just finish it out with COVID update and then we'll do that one downstairs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for,
Uh-huh.
it's good to see you all.
See you, Dwight.
Chair DeBrey,
Yes. Who's,
I think we were planning on one item before this, so the team for the COVID update is on their way.
okay, what
Give a
item were
moment.
you wanting?
I think was there an annexation? We can do it at the 4.
Okay. then
We
we'll
were
do it
just
at 4.
told there was going to be one more conversation.
What there was, but I just bumped it to 4.
Great. They'll be right over.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have,
Is there anything on here that we can do, Richard?
can we do
While
this
we're
one?
waiting for them to show up?
Municipal
I
one?
can make a motion on consent. if
Do
you'd
that.
like, Mr.
Do that.
Chair. I will motion an approval of items 4.1 through actually through 6.1, which are the minutes from July 13th and July 20th. But note the item 4.4 is pulled from this agenda as we did not have a chance to discuss that as intended.
Second.
We got a motion by Arlen, second by Amy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you.
Do you want me to go over the MST budget? Because that could be done in 2 minutes.
We're right here.
Okay.
Dr. Dunn, welcome. It's nice to see you.
Thank you. Hi, guys. Thanks
Hi.
for having me here again.
Were your ears burning at all in the last couple?
I was listening.
Oh.
Yeah, it was a little crowded in here, which is great to have people
We
engaged.
figured you were listening. So for the sake of the record, that takes us to 3.3. Update on Salt Lake County's coordinated response to COVID-19. Dr. Angela Dunn, Executive Director of Health Department, and David Schold. Time is yours.
Sure. Well, good afternoon. Thank you so much for allowing me to come back to talk about the state of the pandemic here. I want to start out by clarifying, like Councilwoman Winder Newton did, that I have not put forth a recommendation for a mask mandate, and nor was that my plan today. I have been working with stakeholders across this county to determine what is best to protect our kids who are ineligible for vaccines. The council is by far one of the most important stakeholders. I've also been working with schools, superintendents, public health leaders across the state and nation, and physicians both locally and nationwide to figure out what is best moving forward. So to clarify that, my purpose today is to continue this discussion with you guys about the best way to protect our residents when COVID-19 is surging again in our communities. Today's focus will be on those who are ineligible for vaccination, namely those who are under 12 years. I just want to say that I respect the process that's been laid out. So the process is that I can order a mask mandate and the county council can overturn it immediately. That's why it's so important for us to be aligned in this. And I definitely respect that and don't plan to recommend any mandate that you guys would overturn immediately. Our parents, our students, our teachers don't need that drama to play out publicly. So this is an effort to continue that discussion to figure out how we want to move forward in this. I do want to say that I am wearing a mask today, and I'm doing that because we've had a crowded room here. We don't know everyone's vaccination status. I have a 4-year-old and a 9-year-old at home who cannot get vaccinated, and I don't want them getting sick with Delta by me unknowingly transmitting it to them. So that's why I'm wearing a mask today. So we will go through the latest data on those under 12. So first, let's start out where we are in the pandemic. We've seen a 7-day increase in our cases by 133% since July 4th. On July 4th, we were at 126 cases per 100,000. Now we are at 293. This is 54% higher than we were last year at this time. Last year at this time, we were at 117 cases per 100,000. This means we're going into a school year with more spread in our community than we had last year. By request, here are your case rates and vaccination coverages by council district. I will note that every council district has very high spread of COVID. Greater than 50 cases per 100,000 is considered high by CDC. We also all have room in our ability to vaccinate more eligible residents within our communities, but you will see that the patterns play out, right? District 5 has very high case rates and very low vaccination rates. And this is information for you, and we're happy to provide more detailed information about your district if you would like. Next slide. So when we talk about our population that's ineligible for vaccination, we have over 235,000 children that are under 12. That's 19% of our Salt Lake County population here. When we talk about Delta, the herd immunity percentage that experts think we need for Delta because it's so transmissible is 80% of our population being vaccinated. So if we were to vaccinate every single adult in Salt Lake County, we would just meet the herd immunity without our under 12 being vaccinated and be able to protect them. And of course, we're nowhere near that 80%. We worked with our colleagues at the State Health Department to project out for Salt Lake County what our cases can be expected to be if we don't do anything and take no prevention measures in our school. You can see that the blue line here is the trend line of our cases, and the shaded area is the projection for the 60 days moving forward. And we can expect 60 cases per day in individuals under the age of 12 as we move into the school year. This translates to one child being hospitalized with COVID every other day if we don't take any prevention measures. We talk a lot about the potential severity. We know Delta is more transmissible, but is it more severe? Here you can see the cases in the blue bars and the percent of those cases who are hospitalized in the orange trend line. As Delta started surging right around May, June, the percent of hospitalizations increased dramatically. We are now at about 6% of all of our cases being hospitalized, and that's an indication that Delta is causing more severe illness. And our medical systems are stressed. At the beginning of this pandemic, our goal was to protect our healthcare systems, to ensure that all Salt Lake County residents had the ability to get routine and emergency care when they needed it. That is not happening today. Every single hospital in our county is either at capacity or over capacity. And that is because of the COVID cases that we have. We currently have 368 COVID cases in the hospital. The last time we reported that much was in February when we were peaking. most of our healthcare systems have started delaying elective surgeries, which we know aren't truly elective. They can be everything, from a hip replacement to sometimes even tumor removal. Those things have been delayed because there's no room in our ICUs or hospitals for them. Over the weekend, we had 28 patients statewide that we did not have an ICU bed for that needed care. So our hospitals are at an over capacity because of COVID. And I want to put in a plug that, remember, we only have one hospital in our state that can care for kids with this level of ICU care, and that's Primary Children's, and they too are at capacity. A lot of comparisons again between COVID and flu. So you can see here, COVID, we've got our cases in our children, and I wanted to compare it to our most severe influenza season in most recent years. And this is 2016, 2017, right? 17, 18 was one of our most severe influenza seasons. These COVID cases are a result of this past year when we had so many mitigation measures in place. We had mandated face masks, we enforced social distancing, we closed a lot of our businesses and gyms that were really crowded indoor settings. We didn't have concerts, et cetera. And that kept our cases low. It kept our hospitalizations and mortality low. But you can see here that COVID is much more transmissible than flu because of the case rate being so much higher. In our most severe influenza season, there was 90 kids hospitalized. And that is when we don't do anything, right? So flu, we don't take any of these prevention measures. So we can predict that COVID will even have a greater impact on our hospitalizations and mortality if we don't take those same prevention measures we took this last year. So when it comes to, should we require or mandate things, this is just a historical look at our response. In the beginning of our pandemic, there were public awareness campaigns where we recommended mask wearing, the Stay Safe to Stay Home initiative, and the Mask for Every Utah. It wasn't until Salt Lake County mandated masks in July that we actually saw a drop in our cases. Right when school started, we saw this huge surge. And we are starting at a higher level of case spread right now in our community than we were back in 2020. So we can expect an even steeper peak come this fall due to COVID. We know that school infections and community infections go hand in hand. We can look at other jurisdictions in other countries for their data because they've experienced this as well. This graph here is from Australia that shows case counts in the dark gray line and school case counts in lavender. You can see when case counts are low in the community, they're low in schools. But the minute they peak in the community, they also peak in schools. The UK was able to determine that every additional 5 cases per 100,000 increases the risk of school outbreaks by 72%. And Michigan and Wisconsin determined that if a community has more than 50 cases per 100,000, school cases will skyrocket. We are at 293 cases per 100,000. But there's good news. We know that prevention measures work. When we do prevention measures in schools, kids stay in school safely. Our own Salt Lake County elementary schools participated in a CDC study during our peak transmission in the winter. We had high community transmission, but we were restricting extracurricular activities. Students were in cohorts. We had staggered lunches. We mandated masks for students and personnel. We had physical distancing, and we had some of the lowest transmission rates in the nation because of these prevention measures. It works. Italy also found that when they reopened schools, they didn't get a second wave, which is fantastic. However, they did have all these prevention measures in place, keeping in mind that layered prevention continues to be what's important in preventing COVID spread, because not one measure other than vaccination will protect our populations. So in our school year, last year, we had over 31,000 middle and elementary children infected with COVID. Next slide. And in Salt Lake County, we had over 11,500 kids less than 12 were infected with COVID. Oh, yeah, and that's the right ones. And we are starting to see that increase again. So you can see we're not starting yet in school, but you can see that trend is starting to go a little bit up. 58 Salt Lake children less than 12 have been hospitalized with COVID-19. 7 of these hospitalizations occurred last month in July. And July's hospitalizations represent 12% of all of our hospitalizations throughout the pandemic. It's the second highest monthly hospitalization since November, indicating that Delta is causing more severe illness in our children as well. And we can expect additional hospitalizations as COVID continues to spread in this age group. 27 Salt Lake County children have developed MIS-C due to COVID-19 vaccination or COVID-19 infection. It's important to remember that while a child may not die from COVID, thankfully, MIS-C does lead to long-term health effects that we still don't yet.
MIS-C?
So it's multi-inflammatory system in children. So this is a long-term complication. It does include heart, but it's a systematic, so it affects a lot of organs, usually diagnosed several weeks to months.
Inflammatory disease of the internal organs.
Yep, and it's a long-term issue. Some children may never recover fully from it.
Thank you.
So our goal, of course, is to provide in-person learning safely, especially for kids under 12. We know that online school just doesn't work as well for them as it does for the older kids. We want them to be in school, not only for the learning, but for the socialization. I have to tell you that, I, just like all of you, have been getting lots of emails and feedback from the public about what to do. Of course, all of mine, except for 3, have been parents begging for mask mandates. They find a sympathetic ear, and I get that. The parents are telling me that, their kid has a cardiac defect, and so they're afraid to send them to in-person learning. They're caring for a parent who's on chemo or an elderly grandparent in their household, and they're afraid to send their kid to school unmasked in the event that they come home with the Delta variant. But trust me, I understand that you guys might be getting the other side. There's 2 sides to every story. But I will say that my job as a health professional and as the health officer of this county is to provide you with the best scientific evidence data that we have to protect our residents. Just this week, Speaker Wilson and Governor Cox showed their support for local health departments to work with their county councils to determine what's best for their jurisdiction. That's why I'm here today. We have 2 options in front of us. We can be reactive. We can go on as we've been going on. We can let kids go to school. We can wait and see the case increase, the hospitalized kids, and likely the fatalities, and then do something about it. Or we can be proactive. We can apply the lessons we learned from fall of 2020 to fall of 2021 and keep kids in school safely so that they can be engaged in in-person learning for the entire fall. Happy to answer questions.
Questions for the doctor from council? Amy.
Thank you. I assume that when you're talking about being proactive, you're talking about the population that doesn't have access to the vaccine. So those under 12.
Absolutely. The best thing we can do for kids 12 and over is get them vaccinated, and they all have the opportunity to do so.
So on just a couple of your numbers, and you may not have these percentages right off the top of your head, so I'm happy to wait until somebody can help me figure it out. Do you know how many kids we have under 12 in Salt Lake County?
235,000.
Okay. So I think one of your slides said like 11,500, something like that, got COVID during the pandemic. And then 58 kids under 12 have been hospitalized of that 235,000. And then 27 have had some ongoing issues, right? And then we've had 1 death. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And then just a couple other questions. So I guess what % of kids that get COVID end up hospitalized?
It would be
under 12.
58 divided by
58 divided by
11,000.
okay. Yeah. Okay. And then I can figure out percentages overall with the 235,000 number. So I had heard some of the governor's press conference about saying that they would provide the 95 masks for all kids who want them.
Yep.
Help me understand, because I know those work a little bit differently than just regular cloth masks. They work better, I would assume. Do you have any more information on that, on how those?
I learned about that too, and I think it's a great initiative. So for those who weren't aware, Governor Cox in his press conference today said that he would be giving any kid who wants it access to a KN95 for those 11 and younger, so that they can be fully protected, or more protected, I should say, when they are in the in-school setting. So those are able to filter out smaller particulate levels. So it is more effective than a cloth mask. However, they are harder to come by. And so cloth masks work for larger particles, but they don't have as great of protection as KN95.
So really, I mean, that's going to be a great ad. He said that they'd get one for any kids in the state who want one, which I think for parents who are really concerned about their kids going back and not having access to the vaccine, we now have something we didn't have last year, which is a mask that will protect them even better.
It will,
I
definitely.
think that's awesome that the state's willing to step up. And I do know, I heard the governor too, he did say that this is now a pandemic for the unvaccinated. Those who are choosing not to get vaccinated, that's when, you have to make those decisions. And so I know what we're talking about right now is that population that doesn't have access to a vaccine.
Yep.
I'm just curious too, have we talked, I assume your health department people have gotten together and talked about this, but are we pushing out how do you strengthen your immune system and things that people can do there to stay healthier? Or like, I'd almost rather, if we're going to mandate anything, I'd rather mandate that these kids wash their hands and that we hand sanitize, because I feel like the spread is more, that's for kids, that's a big factor, I would assume.
So the main way COVID-19 is spread is through respiratory droplets. At the beginning of this pandemic, remember we were all like washing our groceries and not touching our Amazon boxes. It turned out that it's not actually spread that well by touching surfaces. So the main way is through respiratory droplets. And the way that masks work is definitely to protect you from spreading it to someone else. So KN95s, which is great, do more to protect the individual wearer, which is fantastic. And I'm very thankful that Governor Cox is coming out in support of that.
Okay, that's really helpful. So anyway, just to go back to the immune question, do we have anything that we're putting out there to help talk about?
I would say that's part, we haven't done it specifically with COVID to my knowledge, but that is part of public health in general, right? It's your overall health is going to give you better immunity against any virus and any illness. So that is our mission, is to make Salt Lake County or help Salt Lake County residents be the healthiest that they can be. So that is part of it. Right now, the pandemic is a virus that does not discriminate. And we have healthy individuals who have passed away from it that are in their 30s. And of course, those with weakened immune systems are going to be at higher risk. But that's the danger of a pandemic, of a virus we don't know much about, is that you can't really predict very well exactly who is completely protected and who isn't without a vaccine.
Well, and I know a lot of our messaging right now is to push the vaccine, because that really is the one thing that's going to help us get out of this quicker.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So before we go to Richard, real quick, before I forget my question. So we know it's airborne pathogen for sure, back to what Amy was trying to refer to. My point is what about bloodborne pathogen or body fluids? Can you get it that way?
No.
Okay.
It's only in your respiratory droplets.
Okay. Thank you. Richard.
Sure.
Well, just for what it's worth, my internist said, Richard, vitamin D, zinc, exercise, get sleep, lose 20 pounds. So that's what my internist said.
So I think that is fantastic advice for everybody out there. I think we should all practice those great health habits. It is wonderful that we have specific vaccinations and other mitigation measures for people who are completely healthy but still susceptible to COVID-19.
Right. Yeah, he came back and reminded me the greatest health crisis in America is obesity.
Well, that is true. And if this council wants to help us fight obesity with additional support, we would be more than willing to have that discussion.
Absolutely.
Because I agree.
Yeah. On another note, just a couple of other things.
Ladies and gentlemen, please, I'm going to ask you one time only. We respected you and gave you our whole afternoon. I'm asking you to please be quiet so we can continue our meeting. Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm trying to make some points.
Yes, you are. Thank you.
These cat calls aren't helping.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, just to clarify, since the beginning of COVID, there has been one death of a person under the age of 18. Is that correct?
Under the age of 12.
Under the age of 12. Okay. Did that person have comorbidities?
So that individual did have additional comorbidities, but if they did not have COVID, they would have not passed away at the age younger than 12. We talk about these numbers, and we have to remember that there are individuals behind each of these numbers. And when we talk about what we're talking about masks in kids under 12 versus hospitalization and death. What are the risk of the mask versus risk of COVID? And which child are you going to choose to hospitalize every other day? And that's what we're up against. And that's what I'm up against. And it's very stressful and sad. And it's a hard thing to talk about and try to make a decision, because there's so many voiceful opinions out there. But when it comes down to the health and science, that is ultimately what we're choosing, is to say which children every other day are going to be hospitalized due to COVID. And that doesn't mean they recover completely. It is serious. And any physician, any pediatrician will tell you that. So I think when we look at these numbers, it's important to say, oh no, I think it's disrespectful to the families who have suffered through this to say no kids impacted, it doesn't matter, because talk to those families who have dealt with it. And when we have something that can prevent that, I think it's our duty to do everything we can to make sure that they have that ability.
Thanks. Mr. Chairman, then just follow up one last question. We've been talking during the presentation today about the COVID, which has to do, and everything has been directed towards the physical health. But COVID has resulted there's been collateral damage, which is the mental health.
Yes, absolutely.
In Utah, have we seen an uptick in suicides or suicides attempts during COVID? What is the position of the Society of Clinical and Adolescent Psychologists? What are we hearing from our school counselors in terms of students pouring out their thoughts and minds and anxieties to them? The mental health is the other 50% of this equation, because mental health is equally as important as physical health.
Yes, and not just for kids, but for adults as well. We've all felt this past 18 months. Trust me, I have been there and I'm still there. I don't know the exact data on our state data in terms of suicide attempts or completions. I will tell you that yes, everybody's stressed, and we need to figure out a way to support our families, our teachers, our government officials, our physicians, our kids in a very effective way. Part of that is making sure that they can be in in-person learning. And kids are going to be in in-person learning if they don't have COVID and they're not exposed to COVID. So I know that we have a layered approach and a menu of options to help them do that. So I think that's part of the equation, is making sure they're in in-person learning. The other part is what can we do as a community to support everybody who's been heavily impacted. And I agree, that has to be a focus for us as a community to come together on.
And do we know if the Society of Clinical and Adolescent Psychologists has weighed in on the issue of masking children?
You know, I don't know their position specifically, but I have talked with a bunch of psychologists, developmental specialists, pediatricians, and looked at all of the evidence. And I have not found any evidence that wearing masks is detrimental to an individual student's learning experience or psychology. The collateral discussion that is around wearing masks is what is influencing a child's mental state about the mask, but the actual just putting on a mask is not the cause. So I think we as adults can change that for our children. We can normalize it and help them feel safe at school and also healthy mentally while wearing a mask at school.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, that's all.
Thank you, Richard. Any other questions from council for Dr. Dunn? Dave.
Thank you, Dr. Dunn. I wanted to ask, on your presentation, you talked about ICU capacity, and we're getting to some high numbers.
We're over it.
It's my understanding that summer is always a little bit higher for ICU capacity. And at what percentage of our ICU is COVID right
30.
now? 30%.
Which is extremely high. We, throughout the fall and in the winter, we're typically are in the 18% to 20% during our peak. We are now at 30% about.
Okay. How much is the variation from seasons? So if you went from winter to summer, does it
For COVID specifically?
No, for ICU capacity.
So ICU capacity typically is reached during the fall, so not summer, and that is because of respiratory viruses. So we are expecting, if the flu season comes back, flu season was gone last year. We did not have flu, we did not have RSV, and that's because of all the prevention measures we had in place. If that comes back this year, on top of our COVID cases, we will continue to overburden our healthcare systems. I will say that our hospitals do not have the staffing ability to open their COVID surge units anymore. So in the fall and in the winter, they had surge units. They had specific COVID units that were fully staffed. Their staff have burnt out, and they are unable to hire additional staff. And so we don't have any surge capacity. So that is why we are unable to find ICU beds. I had a colleague who who her father had a pulmonary embolism over the weekend, and she waited in the emergency room for 10 hours until somebody was discharged to get her father into a regular bed. He needed ICU care, could not get it, so went into a regular bed. And this is what's happening in our community now.
That happened in our county,
It did.
our county hospital.
I have no other questions. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's no further questions, I want to thank Dr. Dunn and David, and we will conclude our work session and see you downstairs.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
maybe it sounds redundant because a whole new MDA is created. So clearly you have your own professionals in Harriman City and you can dig through the MDA. I'm comfortable acknowledging the work that we've done and would like to second Amy. But ultimately, if Amy's motion fails, Steve, I'll support what you put forward.
Thank you, Arlen. Any further discussion on Amy's second before I call for the question, Amy's substitute? Seeing none, I'd like a roll call vote on Councilwoman Winter Newton's substitute motion.
Councilmember Stringham,
No.
Councilmember Snellgrove,
No.
Councilmember Bradley,
Yes.
Councilmember Bradshaw,
Aye.
Councilmember Alvord,
No.
Councilmember Newton,
Aye.
Councilmember Granado,
No.
Councilmember Theodore,
No.
Councilmember DeBrey.
No. Okay, it takes us back to my original motion and the second by Ann. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Stringham,
Yes.
Councilmember Snellgrove,
Aye.
Councilmember Bradley, Councilmember Bradshaw,
Aye.
Councilmember Alvord,
Aye.
Councilmember Newton,
Aye.
Councilmember Granado, Councilmember Theodore,
Yes.
Councilmember DeBrey.
Aye, that's unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We look
Council.
forward to your input also. So thank you for all that you do.
Thank you.
At this time, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion on the remainder of the agenda items. And I'll motion approval of items 5.1 through 12.1, which are our minutes from July 13th and July 20th. And I've got a number of notations. So first of all, 5.1 is setting a public hearing to occur at our August 10th meeting at 4:00 p.m. to receive comments on the proposed Harriman CDA plan. Items 7.1, 7.2, and 8.4 are not part of this motion and removed from the agenda as we did not have time to review those items in our work session, and we will deal with them at a future council meeting.
Thank you, Arlen. Looking for a second to Arlen's motion.
Second.
Second by Amy. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, and we're adjourned. Thank you all for your help on today. Appreciate it. Very much appreciated.